Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and Lisa and Sherry, can you hear me okay? Okay. So Steve hasn't joined us yet, so we just have Penny and taking this as a member of council along with myself.
Please, I should on this one. Can you hear us, people? Are you here? Okay.
You hear me now? Okay.
Andy, you come in clear, but the others don't.
Okay, well, I wasn't even sure I had my microphone on.
Okay.
If wave your hands or something if we run into sound problem, please. Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order today, get started, and of course we'll need to adopt the agenda. The recommendation that the agenda for the agenda and the supplementary agenda for the September 8th, 2025 regular meeting council be accepted and passed. We have mover and a seconder, please. Councilor Burke or Councilor Kern, thank you. Any questions or comments on the agenda? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll deal with the disclosure of pecuniary interest on anything on today's agenda. I have none to declare. Councilor Burke.
No.
Councilor Burke.
Yes, 2A, and also the supplementary agenda for Aiken. I have an indirect pecuniary interest.
Councilor Rankin.
I have none.
Okay, thank you. One for a closed session. Recommendation of council of corporation of the Township of Wellington North, which will meeting at 1:02 p.m. that is closed to the public under subsection 239 number 2 of the Municipal Act 2001. Specifically for item B, personal matters of an identified individual, including municipal or local board employees. Item D, labor relations or employee negotiations. Item F, advice to the subject of solicitor client privilege, including communication necessary for that purpose. There you move in a second for that. Councilor Rankin, Councilor Burke, thank you. All those in favor? Carried or enclosed?
So is Sam supposed to be part of this? Do not believe so. So just in your microphone, just have Sam to the next.
We're going to go to the closed meeting. If I lock the meeting and you're still in here, you won't be able to get back in. You know the drill.
There's a C.
Oh, once we lock it, you will get. So you want to just hold for a minute?
You know from the person.
Oh, that's true. So is it locked?
No, not yet. So we stop recording.
To go to 20 seconds?
Oh,
Pause.
Okay, a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North rise to a closed meeting session at 1:50 p.m. Moved by Councilor King, seconded by Councilor Rankin. All those in favor? Carried. Recommendation of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received verbal Wellington North power update from the CAO and the Council is pretty confidential direction of staff. Mover seconder, please. Councilor Kern, Councilor Burke, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. The recommendation of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received the verbal 2026 union negotiations update from the CAO, and the Council approved the confidential direction to staff. Moved by Councilor King, seconded by Councilor Rankin. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And the recommendation of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received the Don Street bylaw enforcement update from the CAO. The council approved the confidential direction to staff. Moved by Councilor Burke, seconded by Councilor Hearn. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And the final one, the recommendation of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North approved the closed meeting minutes of the June 23rd, 2025 council meeting. Moved by Councilor McCabe, seconded by Councilor Rankin. All those in favor? That's carried. We will recess until 2 p.m. But resume the meeting of the inaccuracies. The closed session earlier. We go back to our regular open session of our council meeting. First off on our agenda is of course our candidates. Please rise if you're able to join us in the count. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to presentations. We have a couple of them this afternoon, and we'll start with Michelle Steele from RLB. Here to give us the year-end update, I believe. Welcome, Michelle, and we'll be ready for her.
Great, thank you for having me. Should my phone. There's the better. Progress. So there's just some slides that go along with it. But while those are getting pulled up, we just want to say thank you to the area and his team. Going through the audit is a very long process, so it's one good thing they've done for all the time. Here,
Yes.
where it's supposed to go over this now.
It's gonna, I'll share my.
Work nice and tight for the public hearing.
It's not gonna work for me because I'll be on your time. So. It's great. So share.
Thank you. We start the agenda on the next slide. Just a very quick overview. So I'll talk, provide an overview of the audit, go over our audit reports, highlight the key points from the financial statements, and then just go over the next steps. So the next slide has an overview of the audit. We did send a pre-communication letter to council back in January. So just to follow up, our final materiality for the financial statements was $1,100,000. We do use a reduced scope for individual line items. So we don't use the 1 million, we use a reduced percentage of that for the actual financial statement line items. And then just to follow up, there were no changes to the audit area that we discussed with the audit application. There were no significant control deficiencies that we were to communicate. So there would have been the management budget as well. We have no known independence issues, so we do have to highlight that in your audit report as well. We had 13 adjusting entries, so 3 of those related to your tangible capital assets, 2 related to reserve activities, and then we had 9 unadjusted differences. So those are entries that we don't feel are large enough for the audit to post, but we do track them to make sure at the end of the audit they're not significant. So we just have to communicate that as well. So we'll go to the next slide. So getting to the actual financial statements, so they're in the independent auditors reports. And it highlights that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the organization. And it does discuss how the audit was conducted in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards. So, same opinion, same report you received last year. So I won't go into the details of the report. This is the same format as previously presented. And then getting into the actual statements, go to the next slide. So the first one is your statement of financial position. So this is the organization as at December 31st. If you were in a for-profit world, you would pull your balance sheet. So we summarize the municipality's assets, your liabilities, and your accumulated surplus. So the key areas we'll look at, there are some graphs that accompany each statement. Is your cash equivalents, your taxes receivable, long-term debt, your tangible capital assets, and then your accumulated surplus. So the next slide shows your statement of financial position. The financial statements, just a snip of it, the financial statements for the cash package as well. So you'll see it's the organization as of December 31st. There's a column from 2024 with comparatives to last year. So I'll just go over the main variances between the 2 columns. You see the top in your financial assets, the cash balance. So cash has increased about 7.8 million over last year. So there is a detailed cash flow statement that you will see shortly, but it's primarily your current surplus. The other significant changes, so taxes receivable, you'll see it's increased about $1.5 million. That's primarily timing. There was some additional supplemental taxes billed at the end of the year. And that was from developments from 2022 to 2024. So it's just an impact on the budget to assess those properties. So more just timing. So you see your total assets of 66 million, and in the middle of the page are your liabilities. The largest variances there is the first one there, accounts payable and accrued liabilities. It's increased about $3 million from last year. And it's primarily due to the county and school board. So there's those increased supplemental receivables, there are increased payables to the county and school board. So again, just timing on when those balances were paid out as the end of the year. And then deferred revenue, whether you're related for your reserve funds, those have increased $1.9 million, and that's primarily due to your development charges. So development charges collected that were spent within the year. We take the financial assets minus the liabilities, and that's how your net financial asset balance is calculated. There will be a schedule on that shortly, so just put that number out. And then at the bottom of the page are your non-financial assets, which is primarily your tangible capital assets. You'll see that's increased about $2.8 million. So you had $9.6 million of capital asset additions this year, net of the amortization expense of 6.7. So that's where the net change came from. And then at the very bottom is the sum of everything, your accumulated surplus. We do have a schedule 3 that summarizes your accumulated surplus, but that's a total balance too. Go to the next few slides are graphs that are this. This first one is your cash and cash equivalents. So we'll call it the green, maybe the turquoise, is your cash and cash equivalents. So you'll see there's 5 years shown, so 2024 is the furthest to the right. So your cash and cash equivalents, being your cash and your investment balances, are about $5.2 million. And then your annual cash outflow, which is the orange, those would be your expenses, plus your tangible capital asset expenses, net of your amortization. So what the organization is paying out each year. So this graph is just essentially showing cash and cash equivalents as a percentage of your annual cash outflow. So what the municipality has on hand is obviously in excess of what they have year. So just a very high level summary of the organization over the last 5 years. Next slide, please. So this slide shows your tax receivable as a percentage of total taxes levied. So the green line is the Township of Wellington North, and the blue is our average of our other municipal clients. We would have 10 altogether, so we've averaged it, and that's why we're using as a percentage of total taxes levied, so that we are making them comparable to each other. And then the 1.2 with this again, because taxes will have increased this year just with the timing on those supplementals at year end. You'll see that the taxes receivable as a percentage of total taxes levied have increased over last year, still below the average of our other municipal clients. And then there's a little chart on the right, the assessment level of the municipal housing, and it's showing that you're still in low. So anything under 10% is considered low. They assess that when they're looking at your financial information return, but we just have to keep that chart on there as well. Next slide, please. So this slide just shows your long-term debt. So long-term debt as a percentage of your total tax revenue, again, just so we can make everything comparable. Green is the Township of Wellington North, and the blue is the average of our other grants. So you'll see there's a decrease from 2023 to 2024 because there was no new debt this year, it's just your long-term debt. And the next three graphs relate to your tangible capital assets. Excellent. So this first graph shows your tangible capital assets as a percentage of total tax revenue. Again, just comparable. Green is the Township of Wellington North, and then blue is the average of our other municipal clients. You'll see that your tangible capital asset additions this year are quite consistent for the last 3 years. Again, this line is going to vary every year based on the needs of the municipality and what you're planning to do this year. But again, it is showing that you are above the average of our other municipal clients. This graph kind of looks busy, but again, it has the 5 years. So the blue means your capital additions, green means your budgeted additions, and then the yellow would be your amortization. So for one, we want to see blue, so your current year additions being in excess of your amortization expense. So of course, in addition, capital asset cost today is significantly more than 10, 20 years ago, right? So you want to make sure you're reinvesting in the municipality. And it's interesting because usually the green is above the blue, so usually your budgeted additions are in excess of what you actually did in the year, but this year you're consistent. And usually that's because projects are carrying forward year to year, so usually years would include the same project, right, but they aren't carrying forward, so I just thought it was interesting. And then the last tangible capital assets graph shows how your tangible capital assets were funded. So it doesn't include all the colors just because, again, the funding of your tangible capital asset varies year to year. So just looking at 2024, purple are your grants. So you did receive a provincial connecting links grant. There was gas tax, and there was OCIF funding. Orange are your levies, so what's being funded just from regular operations. The green or turquoise is your reserves and reserve funds. Green is the obligatory reserve funds. So actually that's gas tax and OCIF. And then the yellow is other, so that you have donation from your last, the significant piece there, the yellow, and then the gray at the bottom is any unexpended or unfinanced capital. So the next statement is your statement of operations. So it actually reports the activity for the fiscal year. So it's going to show your revenue, that's your expenditures, and then that's how the annual surplus for the year is calculated. The key areas would be your budget's actual results, the expenditures by department, your annual surplus, and then again your accumulated surplus that we saw in the statement of financial position. Next slide, please. So again, this is just a snip of your statement of operations. So this would be the activity for the year ended December 31st, 2024. There's 3 columns. So the first one there is your 2024 budget. So this would be your budget adjusted to the accrual basis. So capital asset additions would not be included as expenses. It would include your amortization expense. So it's not quite going to look like what you're just looking at on a regular basis. It's just converted this way so that you can compare an apples to apples when you're looking at the actual results. 2024 actuals, and then again comparatives to last year. So again, I'll just go over the main variances between the 2 years. Total revenue for 2024 is up about $3.2 million, about 12% from last year. And it's mainly in a couple categories. The first one there is net taxation is up about $1.39 million, about 14%. Again, you have the supplemental taxation next year, which was Up about $1.7 million from last year, right? So that will swing your taxation revenue year to year. You see grant revenue is down about $1.1 million. There was additional federal funding last year for roads, recreation, and a pipe rehab project. So those are the most significant changes from last year. And then the very last line item there, revenue, your obligatory reserve fund revenue recognized. So that's just spending your obligatory reserve fund. So development charges, gas tax, POCI funding. So that's increased about just under $1.5 million this year. So that's another large swing. Again, that number is going to vary year to year depending on what you spend, what actual projects you have. So there was increased spending under gas tax. So in fiscal 2023, you just spent some gas tax funding, whereas the current year you spent increased gas tax funding in your host area. And then in the middle of the page are your expenses. So overall expenses are up about $1.7 million. That's about 8% from last year. Most categories are consistent with the year before. I'll just point out the main variances. The top one there, general government, is up about $300,000 from last year. Two main things there. There was increased staffing costs this year, so I think you guys have staff turnovers in fiscal 2023. So fiscal 2024 is showing a full year of your staffing costs. And then planning and development, the very last one there, has increased just under $400,000. So again, primarily relates to staffing. So the team went from 1 to 4 people in the last year, so that's showing the increased staffing costs. So we take your total revenue minus your total expenses, and that gives your annual surplus for the year of $7,768,000. That gets added to your accumulated surplus at the beginning of the year, which is last year's closing, and then that's your accumulated surplus at the ending of the year. That we'll see when we get to schedule. Which is a couple of graphs with the statement of operations. So there's two here. The first one here is expenditures by department, just in a pie chart to make it visual. Again, you're going to see that your largest expenses relate to transportation services, and environmental services. So the blue and the yellow. And then the next slide shows the graph just based on the actual number. The more visual, you can see it that way. But again, percentage wise, as the total expenses, everything is quite consistent with the year before. Thank you. So the statement of changes in net financial assets essentially just reconciles your annual surplus to the change in your net financial assets. And for the next slide, I'll actually show the statement. I won't spend a lot of time on this. Very high level view, again, it takes your annual surplus we saw in the statement of operation. Then essentially it pulls out your tangible capital asset activity. So you'll see we're deducting the acquisition of tangible capital assets, we're adding back amortization. So kind of all that combined, there's an increase in net financial assets of the $4.9 million. That gets added to net assets beginning of the year, and then that's your net assets ending of the year that you saw in the statement of operation. There's not a lot of value, but I just wanted to explain that at the point. Almost there. So statement of cash flow. So the statement of cash flow essentially just gives a high overview on how your cash balance changed in the year, and it breaks it down between operating and capital. Yep. So statement of cash flow, again, we start with your annual surplus at the top of the page. We're going to add back amortization. That's not an actual cash outflow. As well, there was a gain on disposal, and then your share of Wellington North Power. So it's removing those because they're non-cash, they're more just accounting entries. And then it walks through the net change in your non-cash capital. So how accounts receivable, how accounts payable change in the year, and how that affects your cash. The largest one you're going to see that accounts payable has $3.1 million, and that's because your accounts payable has increased. So it's the cash hasn't left the bank yet, so it's showing as an increase. So it's kind of backwards. And the other largest one you're going to see is the acquisition of tangible capital assets. So there was an outflow of cash of $9.6 million. That's why I'm showing as a negative. So kind of all that combined shows you a net increase in cash in the year of $7.78 million. So that gets added to cash beginning of the year, which was last year's closing, and that's how your net cash ending of the year was reconciled back to the statement of operation. There's just one more statement. So schedule of accumulated surplus shows the various sources of your accumulated surplus. Your reserves, your reserve funds, you're invested in capital assets. We want to go to the next slide. So again, you'll see it broken down between three components. So the top is surpluses, the largest there again is you're invested in tangible capital assets. So that again ties to the tangible capital asset value, the $128 million. See, there's your investment in Wellington North Power there again. 7.3 million ties to the investment on the statement of financial position. And then you have your reserve funds, $24 million. Those are the discretionary ones, so the ones set aside by council. They're up about $3.6 million, and it's spread across a few, but primarily capital infrastructure, wastewater, and recreation, most significantly over last year. And then your reserves at the bottom are quite conservative to the year before. We added those three buckets, it sums to the $165 million. And again, that's the same accumulated surplus balance was on the statement of operation and the statement of financial. One more item. Oh, yeah, so deferred revenue. So the deferred revenue note reconciles the activity within the obligatory reserve funds. So those are reserve funds that are externally restricted. If you look to the next slide, we'll show you the note that's in the statement. So December 31st, 2023, those are the opening balances. Those would have been closing last year. Contributions received, so that's funding that's been added to the obligatory reserve funds along with the investment in earned in the year. And then we're deducting the revenue recognized. So that's a funding spent in the current year. And the balance ending of the year is what you saw on this financial position. So primarily you'll see the large changes is the top line there, development charges. So the contributions of $2.3 million is in excess of what was spent of the $269,000. And then the bottom two people, CIF funding and your gas tax, have larger amount being spent. So the revenue recognized is in excess of the contributions. And then that $1.8 million at the bottom of the revenue recognized is what you saw in the statement of operations. And then the next slide, this is the last one. This is the graph that shows your reserves and reserve funds as a percentage of total tax revenue. So this would include all your obligatory reserve funds, the discretionary reserve funds, and your reserves. And again, the municipality is the green line, and blue is the average of our other municipal clients. So you'll see the percentage for 2023 and 2024 are quite consistent, but again, quite higher than the average of our. Just want to put that out. And then the next slide. Talk about next steps. So after this, it's up to council to approve the draft financial statements. Once the draft financial statements are approved, we will get Jerry to sign a letter so that I can issue finals. Once I'm in receipt of that, I can issue finals, and then we have the financial information that we are working on. So we will get that submitted now once the financial statements are. The last slide is this question. So if there are any questions, I can answer those now, or feel free to say that.
Thanks, Michelle. Any questions? Any questions from council? I have a couple. And this may be part of one of my little pet peeves. One of your graphs talked about the debt as a percentage of total tax revenue. And is that total tax revenue, or is that total tax revenue plus levies from water and wastewater collections?
Total tax revenue, but it's the levies for water and wastewater.
So it seems like a mismatch to me, that graph, because most of our debt is in the water and wastewater area.
I know that's interesting because we, some of our other municipal plants wouldn't have water and wastewater, but that's something we get out there.
Okay, probably gonna look high because of these clients that don't have water and wastewater, because water and wastewater revenue is a significant chunk of our total revenue. And I see that in some of the other public information this year, that same metric, and it's sort of a little pet peeve of mine that it distorts our picture. The other question is, and you're with your graphs in particular, you reference the average of your clients. And I just want to be clear: is that the average of the clients excluding Wellington North, or is that the average including Wellington North?
The average would
exclude. Any other questions, Michelle? Yeah, thank you. We have a recommendation for council, the council of the corporation of the Township of Wellington North received the draft consolidated financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2024. And further, the council authorizes staff to allocate general surplus pursuant to the reserve fund policy 006-19. So we're receiving the draft. Do we do anything further to get them out of draft? No. Okay. Mover second, Councilor McKee, Councilor Rankin, thank you. Questions, comments from council? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next up, we have Sarah Bowers-Peters. Welcome, Sarah. I guess you had somebody else with you.
I do. Thank you, Mayor Lennox. Hello, members of council, both here and elsewhere, and staff, folks at home watching, as well as those here in attendance. I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to address council. For those of you who are wondering why I'm here, normally we get together for Crime Stoppers Month, and some of you have endured that, and I thank you for that. You don't understand why everyone's laughing. It's normally Crime Stoppers Month has been held in January. And I have my board chair date all the way. I'll let him explain a little more in depth his personal investment in the change of date. But we decided to make September Crime Stoppers Wellington month. It is very cold in January, as you know. We did check to see why January was chosen, because certainly for areas like Wellington North, having outdoor events in January is ill-advised. We couldn't find anyone who could actually say why they picked January. And the brilliance that is our board of directors said we need to find another date that worked more for our practicality, as well as those of the partners that we have in the community. So with a little bit of research, I was able to tie it into September for a very obvious reason, and indulge me for a moment if you don't want. But back in July 1976, when Crime Stoppers was created, it was founded around a homicide in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So this is July. There's a 20-year-old who's killed. He's switched shifts with a friend who's not supposed to be working, but two masked individuals come in to demand cash from the till, and they shoot him at point blank range. So Albuquerque, New Mexico is the sixth highest crime rate per capita in the US. It's a community that does not have a great relationship with its police service, and no one comes forward. So 6 weeks go by. We're now in September. Detective Greg McAleese, fun fact, he's Canadian, but he's working in Albuquerque at the time. He comes up with this concept that we now know as Crime Stoppers. So the anonymous ability of reporting tips confidentially to police through an intermediary, working with the media to promote information about crimes that are unsolved, and a cash reward. The first reward he offered was $300 from his own pocket. Which, when I tell kids in schools about that, they kind of roll their eyes, because you can't even get a decent gaming console for $300. But with inflation being what it is, I like to point out that's about $1,500 today. So with that in mind, the board agreed that September made a lot more sense. If that's the month that Crime Stoppers became active, and that's when it solved its first crime, why would we not want to tie in with that legacy? So without further ado, I will introduce Dave Elway, our board chair, and he'll give you a little more information about what we're doing for Crime Stoppers Wellington.
Thank you, sir.
Worship.
Thank you for having us here. And as Sarah has noted, we have all, as you put the term, I think it was endured, flag raisings in cold weather. As Sarah just talked about, there's historical reasons to why we moved this to September, and practical reasons it's a lot nicer. And certainly it's not just for us, it's for other people who are participating as well. And that's the one thing we have to remember here as we're doing this. I'm going to introduce our team to you, and it's fostering community safety, one tip at a time. It's really two statements of that, fostering community safety. That's something that we all, as individuals who reside in society, we have rules and we have roles and responsibilities. That's something each and every one of us should create nice, safe, and comfortable environment. And I noticed that it gels very well with the strategic plan and your ultimate goal and purpose of a safe, sustainable, and welcoming community. So those are two things that we need. Number one is we want to make the community safer. And number two, the one tip at a time is exactly how we are able to do that. When I say we are able to do it, understand it's not something that Crime Stoppers does. We simply work with members of the public or anyone who has information that helps to make the community safer, that helps to prevent a crime. Yes, there are actually people who have information that something's going to happen, or where something has happened. It's about creating avenues of accountability. We take that information and it's supported through decision of the Supreme Court of Canada that there is an anonymity that is being in that. That information goes to our policing partners or other investigative partners for that. And at the end of the day, we have an avenue that is safe, that where people don't want to get involved in the court procedure or become a witness and get involved in things. You still have that ability to be able to put the information forward and allow investigators to do their investigations. At the end of the day, our role is to be the mediator, taking the information, passing the information along. But why are we doing all these things? We are doing these things because it's our commitment to community safety. And we work with partners. We work with our investigative partners. We work with municipal partners. We work with business partners. We work with media. Anything that we can do in order to get them safe.
Thank you, Dave. So in conclusion, I just want to say we were hoping to be a declaration of council just to recognize this change in our calendar. Also, we wanted to extend an in-person invitation for you to join us at our flag raising this Friday at 11 a.m. And that goes for anyone who is listening. We'd love to have you. I'm leaving right from here going to downtown Mount Forest to have a conversation with regular Forensic Construction to make sure we can make it all work out as far as where the construction is going to be on Friday morning. Also, our shredding events, our annual fundraiser that we have each September in the Township of Wellington North, which is a tremendously well-supported event. We're happy to have representation from council staff, anyone who is available to join us then, and that is 9 a.m. until noon at the Wellington North Fire Service parking lot. Very generously giving us to have this event. So, in conclusion, if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them, but we very much appreciate your time at today's meeting.
Sarah, any questions from the council? Sarah or Dave? That's right.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Minix. I'd just like to say that the programs you offer are wonderful. It gives the public an opportunity to listen to information that they're probably not even aware is occurring on a daily basis. They're very informative, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I think what Councillor Rink is referring to are the crime prevention, crime awareness presentations that we're doing, whether it's cyber safety, fraud prevention, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. That's something kind of unique for Crime Stoppers Wellington. We kind of spearheaded that. We felt that community safety very much hinges on people knowing when crime is happening or what it looks like to prevent that. So thank you for your remarks.
Any other questions or comments? See, thanks again, Dave and Sarah. I do have the proclamation here in front of you to sign, so.
All right.
Great on. Okay. So I have a proclamation in front of me here that reads as follows. Whereas the Crime Stoppers program was launched on September 8th, 1976, and Crime Stoppers Wellington feels it is important to recognize the same. Whereas celebrating Crime Stoppers in September is a logical opportunity to increase community safety. Whereas Crime Stoppers offers a method to provide information to investigators without being involved in the criminal justice system. And whereas the theme for Crime Stoppers Wellington is fostering community safety, one tip at a time, to reinforce the need for individuals to take an active role in reporting crime. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Lennox, Mayor of the Township of Wellington North, do hereby proclaim September 2025 as Crime Stoppers Month in the Township of Wellington North, dated the 8th day of September 2025.
You get a photo with that? Okay,
Sure. How do you want to do that?
however you want to do it.
Well, no, you, I'm not with that. So,
Not big things, sir. You guys- I'll let David put it. Yeah, you just want to come up here and get a number. Straight yes. One, two, three. No, 1, 2, 3. Excellent, thank you. Oh, I appreciate that. Oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
okay, we're on to the Dylan. Okay, we have some deputations this afternoon. First up is Christine Leeds from Safe Communities. Welcome, Christine.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
You've already got a head start with community safety before this, right?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to share that Wellington County has completed its 2025 review of community safety and wellbeing plan. Hooray! It's the second edition, just for information for other people that had not seen the initial one that we did back in 2020, because it was during COVID. This updated plan reflects our ongoing commitment to meeting the evolving needs of our community, with a strong focus on key issues such as mental health and addictions, building safe and connected communities, and fostering a sense of belonging for all residents. We continue to work together to make Wellington County a safer, healthier place to live. As required by the Community Safety and Policing Act, this review is conducted every 5 years to ensure that the services and programs in place are effective, responsive, and aligned with local needs. A community safety and well-being plan must include 3 key components. First, the identification of local priority risk factors based on community consultations and reliable data, including input from the OPP and public health. Second, the use of evidence-based programs and strategies that directly address those risk factors. And third, measurable outcomes with clear performance indicators to track our progress. I have to say that through collaboration and commitment, we have not only met but exceeded provincial requirements for this country. Thank you to all the organizations, municipalities, individuals, and Wellington County departments who have contributed both to this most recent update and to the ongoing success of the plan over the past 5 years and future 5 years. So that includes everybody that is participating on our leadership table, including Wellington North. Like we have a representative from Wellington North, who's Asha Raffles, and she does an amazing job at bringing information to you, and she brings a lot of great information to us, which is great. Your dedication is what makes this work meaningful and impactful. Thank you. It's been a very busy and exciting year for Safe Communities Wellington County as well. Not only did we revise the community safety and well-being plan, but we also made great strides in increasing its visibility and impact throughout 2025. We've continued to expand our exposure across Wellington County through a variety of social media and media campaigns, focusing on issues that affect us all. Falls, motor vehicle collisions, mental health initiatives, accidental poisonings, and farm and home safety. Our presence in the community has been strong. This year we attended the Drayton Farm Show, the Wellington County Farm and Home Safety Association Pancake Breakfast, the Lights and Sirens event in partnership with Fire and PP, as well as the Fergus Lions Home Show and the Active Living Show at the Sports Plus. We also participated in the Spring Fling for the Community Resource Center and recently participated in the Center Wellington Fire Olympics.
These events have allowed us to engage with residents directly and keep community safety front and center. One of the highlights of the year was our Safe Communities Day, which we expanded from a one-day event into a 2-day program held on October 1st and October 2nd. This format worked extremely well, and we'll be continuing that format in 2025. Next month. We connected with students virtually in between the 2 nutrition breaks, dedicating one day to 911 education and another day to highlighting the role of our safety partners beyond emergency response. The result was incredible. We reached over 750 students. When we did it in person, although it was a fabulous day, it was down in Martin. We could only the most amount of students that we could actually accommodate was around 250 to 300. So every year to be able to reach over 750 students, I think it's amazing. We also provided each school with safety-related materials, and we are continuing to build on this success. Looking ahead, we are making it a priority to attend more events and, importantly, to engage more youth in our work. Youth engagement is not only a focus of our community safety and well-being plan, but also a necessity for building safer communities over the next 5 years and beyond. I'm also excited to share that through Canadian Youth Road Safety Week, formerly National Teen Driver Safety Week, has led me to visit high schools across Wellington County and some Guelph high schools. A new initiative called Snap for Change is empowering youth to identify and report issues in their communities, whether it's potholes, speeding, or other safety concerns. This initiative gives young people a voice and ensures that their perspectives are part of shaping safer communities. In closing, I want to thank you for listening and for your ongoing support of Safe Communities Wellington County. Together, we are making a real difference. I look forward to continuing this important work, all of you, in the months and years ahead.
Thanks, Christine. Any questions, council? Not seeing too many hands, so.
And but I hope everybody liked it. Like, so the actual community safety and well-being plan, it was
We're very appreciative of the work you did in that.
awesome. That's great. Yeah, it's very enjoyable working it together. I get to learn even more than when I learned in the last 11 years. So, which is great. Because it's the beauty of community safety and well-being plan is that everybody comes together and we're no longer in our silos, right? And it's I learned a lot from it, and I'm sure there are a lot of other people. It's awesome. But
Thanks a lot, Christine.
thank you.
Okay, next up we have Larry Knight and Susan Poet.
Susan's not here today. She emergency.
Oh, okay. Well, Mr. Knight, welcome.
Sure. No question.
Is your microphone on? Is the green light on there?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What are the council going to do with speeding and heavy trucks and school buses, which are not on Church Street North?
So are you aware of the pilot program you put in place for doing Church Street?
I talked with Sherry here just Wednesday. No, we go today. And she just gave me a bit of a brief.
Brief overview of what we're planning to do.
To a certain point, which did go right into it.
Okay, so the plan at this point is to do a little pilot program on Church Street as well as some other streets around the community. And I believe the measures on Church Street include installing, I forget the proper term, the barriers in the middle of the street that
It's linears.
sorry.
They're called linear.
Okay. And which provides a visual effect to drivers that helps them be reminded to slow down. And the intention is to do a before picture, install them, do an after result, and we can figure out whether that's going to deliver the results for not.
When is this supposed to take place?
That's over the next year. Do you know the exact dates?
For you, Mayor Lennox, so my understanding is that we were going to be, with council's approval at the last meeting, we were gonna be installing some of the traffic calming measures this fall. So I'm not sure the exact dates, but we're hoping to get them in place as soon as we can so that we can start looking at the the impact of those traffic calming measures over the fall before the snow starts. And then again, in the spring of next year, we will look at reinstalling them on the winter improves so that we can continue to measure the impact. So we have heard from various people in the community about different streets of concern, and Church Street was one of them. But I would suggest that if people are seeing issues in the community, we do have a traffic calming and pedestrian traffic impact form that I suggest people fill out and circulate to us so that we can keep tabs on where those issues might be and identify potential solutions.
No, it helps us have a dialogue with police too, in terms of enforcement.
Like I talked to you about a year and a half ago. Over the phone.
Good.
You
And
said,
I think I encourage you to call police when you see speeding, correct?
yeah, that's fine. We're long gone. Very well before the police show up.
I'm aware of that, but we don't inform the police that they don't.
Like I even phone, like you told me to,
Good. Glad to hear.
once they show up. They're in hell. That's not doing any good.
Although it helps the police know where to go and try to target their enforcement.
Like I've been there 17 years. There's been 5 accidents. 2 this year. Male lady got rear-ended. I got hit. Walking across the street. People aren't slowing down. It was just lucky I caught him out of the corner of my eye. And he caught me, did knock me down. But if I hadn't caught him, I would have ran over. School buses. I can see when the Catholic Church had that fire. They moved everything over to the Baptist Church. I can see the school buses coming down. There's no need of them coming down because they take a shortcut, go around to the Catholic schools. And well, Sue, she lives right on the corner in Durham. They don't even stop. It's a rolling stop. My wife used to be a school bus driver. I was a school bus driver. I had every license going. If I did that, I'd be arrested.
Yeah, pretty serious now.
Now, since you've got construction going on the main street, guess where all the heavy trucks are coming? Off Church Street, it's just a shortcut. We should not have any heavy trucks on that street. We get Miller, concrete. Instead of going down London, which would be closer to their dump or their build, they come down Church Street. When you get 45 time, you can't stop it. It runs up. My grandkids won't come up to my house because of the traffic. And they live in Bluff. We have to do something. I used to walk up, like part of it, I say, well, Wellington Street, just up past my place, there's no curb. Kids coming out of high school and whatever. If they're 4 white, they walk on the street. Somebody's going to get killed. And whose fault's that? Not going to be mine. It's going to be the owner of the car, and they come back on the town. I know that for a fact. Because nothing's been done to stop it. Now, if these delinquents aren't going to solve the problem, what do you plan to do next?
Well, I think we're going to take one step at a time. We go ahead with plan 2, we said everything before we've done plan 1.
Because I know, well, they had a problem years ago. I don't know if they know well at all.
I do.
Go down to the YMCA. On the Hamlin, turn right, they got the perfect solution. Built-in speed bumps with millennials on each side. And in the center, that way, people can't go around. The snowplow goes over, no problem. Because I know this because I got a good friend who works at the city of Guelph, who plows snow.
Certainly, Church Street is on our radar, and we're working towards trying to find a solution to calming traffic on Church Street.
And
Understand your concerns. You registered the number of times. I don't know if you filled out one of our forms or not. But
no,
encourage others to do that too, please, because we need the feedback.
because I talked to Sherry,
Mm-hmm.
which I see she's not here today.
But she's on the meeting electronic.
Oh. So I kept up with her. Because I know he did put those portable,
Speed signs up.
they were up for 2 days, 1 day, and the next day, for the weekend, they took it down. Which I understood they were gonna stay up there for 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. Yeah, they're up 2.5 days. And that, so. Well, I hope we see something this summer, or,
The plan is to try to get started on this pilot project this fall.
okay.
Yes. And then
Oh.
you encourage your neighbors to provide us some feedback too. We do have these smart available.
I had Jim Ferris spokesman here. He had to go on for his wife. And the lady was supposed to show up. She got sick, so
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we have those forums, so no matter where people can share their concerns, but they're able to join us in person or not.
and a few of the others. They're working.
Mm-hmm.
And that's. I guess that's it. Oh. We'll put no heavy truck signs. At Durham Street and Wellington Street.
We'll take that feedback and put it in the middle of the process here.
Okay.
It's pretty hard to certainly limit truck traffic with HI on Church Street.
Yeah, but why doesn't that be going? I had reached dump trucks coming out of Yonner Street.
Yeah.
And that was this week. So. I guess that's all I gotta say.
Well, we've heard your concerns and we're working towards trying to address it.
Oh, plus, we got seniors crossing. And. A lot of. Them. Well, out of Birmingham on, they're on waters. And they're crossing the street, taking their way from Birmingham. I'd rather cross a 401 walk than Church Street. Because I know I won't get hit 401 out there for what. May sound drastic, but it is. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next item is questions on agenda items. We do have Mr. Russell. Is that you in the back there? As one to speak to an item we have on today's agenda? Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of Council. My name is Rob Russell. I'm in some authorization for the owners and applicant of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment number ZBA 07/. Just want to take just a couple minutes just to brief. I just wanted to express our support for the staff recommendation. We encourage council to look through it as it's written. I did want to provide. I provided a written response to the comment from the council to the public, but I did want to verbal summary as well. Essentially, just to provide context refresh everyone's memory. My clients own 341 and 335 Smith Street. They are proposing a phased development. The first phase will be 2 units fronting onto the driveways of Smith Street. Need to save enough room for a conduit driveway that goes to the back. We know what size a conduit driveway needs to be in terms of asphalt. We don't know grading design, how much room we need to grade, to change grades. We haven't gone that far with our detail area. As such, we're trying to reserve as much space. I think that's to accommodate maybe in case if something happens and we couldn't actually put a driveway in, we don't want to try to extend that. So we are trying to make these lots as narrow as possible, but still fit single attached houses. We did hear concerns about snow storage. So in our response letter, which I hope everyone's had a chance to review, but a calculation comparison of how much snow storage is available for these proposed lots versus other approved lots within the zoning plan. For every square meter of driveway, these lots would have more than 2 square meters of yard space to shovel snow onto. That's even more than a 15-meter lot in the R1B zone, assuming it has two car width driveway. That would only have 1.5 square meters of snow storage area per meter of driveway. And so this would really be the most snow storage in terms of design as a ratio in all the zoning categories in the approved zone file. And the other one is really just who's the building typology. There was a comment that maybe semi-detached would be more appropriate in this location. The clients feel, or the owner feels, that the market isn't there for a semi-detached at this point. That's something I hear commonly from a lot of my clients, is that the people who are in the market for people who can afford to pay for a semi-detached would rather have a single detached. Really, they can't sell the price of a semi-detached that would actually sell. So the market price would be comparable to like townhouse price. And the extra cost that goes into a semi-detached doesn't make them compliant. So it is a market technically, where the people who are looking for those lots are not people that and with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I just wanted to provide a little feedback.
Don't have any questions for Mr. Russell at this point?
None?
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to adoption of the minutes of the council public meeting. I have a recommendation here that the minutes of the regular meeting of council and the public meeting held on August 25th, 2025 is off this record. They move over to secondary for that, please. So Burger, Mr. Lincoln, thank you. Any questions or comments on those minutes? All those in favor? That's carried, thank you. We have business arriving at previous meetings, so we're on to identification of items prior to discussion. And based on our procedure bylaw, I have items 2A, 2B, 4A, 5A, 6B, and 7A to be pulled out for further discussion. So that leaves everything other than those. And I have a recommendation that all items listed under items for consideration on September 8, 2025 council agenda, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved, and the recommendations therein be adopted. Very movement is seconded for that. Councilor McKay, Councilor Rankin, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Move on to 2A. And here. This is in regard to consent application E3525. And the recommendation is a lengthy one that's there in front of you. Could I ask the mover and seconder for that, please? Councilor McKay, Councilor Rankin, thank you. Any discussion on this one? Councilor McKay.
Thank you, for you, Alex. This is a quick kind of question. So I'm not sure who this is for, but so this is just basically a separation from the business and the residential lot, but allowing for an easement. Is that correct? I'm all for it, but I just want to clarification.
through your mayor, the reason is to allow parking at the,
The rear,
it'll be on 133, it'll be on the north side. So in between the property 212 and 133, yeah.
okay, thank you, Dave, thank you.
So yeah, just allow parking.
Yeah.
To accommodate the residents.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Very to read. All those in favor? That's great. Two. Move on to 2B now. This is the regarding the zoning bylaw amendments. The 341 Smith Street. So the recommendation here. The Council of Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received the planner report prepared by Jason Barnes, planner, County Wellington, dated August 29, 2025, regarding 1237553 Canada Inc. Regarding survey Crown Park Lot 6, registered plan 60R 3069 Part 1, 341 Smith Street in Arthur. This is zoning bylaw amendments FPA 07/25. Mover and seconder for that, please. Vote. And that the clerk and mayor be authorized to sign the law. They're gonna move to seconder for that, please. Councilor Lincoln and Councilor Burke, thank you. Questions from council? Councilor Kate.
I'll go again. So yeah, we did set you up here, Rob, thank you for that. And you say that the snow storage is fine, but I wonder what happens if it isn't. And I'm still thinking that the lot size is small. I do like the idea of what is being proposed, don't get me wrong that way, but it's quite a significant change, about 130 square foot of the property. So I still think snow storage will be and probably continue to be an issue, so we really address that too, but we've seen in caches, subdivision, there's some snow storage issues as well, and can't see that this one will be any different, so.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lennox and councilors, and through your mayor to Councilor Gate. So I have spoken to council as well on several occasions about other applications and some of the challenges with smaller lots, and we've discussed really parking, snow storage, and any area. So I think this wasn't, this took some considerable consideration in making our recommendation on the application. Following the public meeting, we did meet with the applicant at least once or twice to discuss their proposal. And if council may remember, originally they did also have reductions in the lot some of the setbacks. I think maybe an increased lot coverage, if I have that correct context of memory. So after meeting with them, they have revised the application to now be asking only for the frontage reduction and the lot area. So they will be meeting the side yard setbacks, so the rear yard and the front yard setback, which is still 6 meters. So I think in our consideration, those are good things. I think certainly if they weren't addressed meeting those items, we would have concerns. I think in terms of the snow storage here, because it is a single car garage, they would have a single car driveway. The bylaw does allow up to 50% lot coverage, a maximum lot coverage of hard surface. So they could widen the driveway, I guess, under the bylaw a little bit, but I don't believe it would provide enough width to have two cars parked side by side. So I've been thinking about this here. We for more certainty, we could add the bylaw that there is a maximum driveway width of 3 meters, which would provide access to the garage and parking, temporary parking, whatever it's called. That would provide some confirmation that there certainly is that area remains as lawn for snow.
Thank you.
Any other questions? One else? I have a couple of questions, I think of the report, it spoke to the pairing of the driveways for the two properties, just, can you unpack for me, like, what's involved with that, and to modify this bylaw to accommodate that?
Yeah, I think maybe my last minute from my head the other Darren about how to accomplish that area of zoning bylaw. I guess in terms of the idea was instead of the houses, I guess the big mirror, when you look at them as if through the mirror, so the driveways would be closer together and it would be, yeah, you could even have the driveways touch. I think there isn't anything in the bylaw that prohibit that, is that correct? Or not?
That's right, there's nothing in the bylaw that would prohibit the driveways touching. To accomplish that, we would need a site-specific zoning on each of the two properties.
Okay, and then just to make sure I was clear as to the reference in the report, it talked about that as a way to further allow for more green area to enhance the potential for snow storage and also green space. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. And then I have one more, maybe this is more of a comment. I you know, these lots are very narrow. I think 9 meters or give or take. Seems really tight to me, given the nature of our community. And the lot coverage or the total lot area is significantly under what our expectation is in our zoning bylaw. And I'm really struggling with, you know, I want to be flexible in terms of allowing for redevelopment of a property like this, but I struggle with where to draw the line. We put in our zoning bylaw provisions that we believe are appropriate for our community, and yet here we are being asked to prove a single detached home with, as Councilor McKay alluded to, about a third less lot area. That means a third less space for people to have outdoor activities with their family, or other things that they might want to include in their home. And so, struggling with really how to balance the zoning bylaw that we believe is appropriate for the community we live in, to modify it by this extent, just seems like almost a bridge too far. But I'm certainly struggling to try to figure out a way to where the line should be drawn here in terms of being flexible and also upholding the intent of our bylaw. Anyhow, it's just my rant today. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Raymond.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Lennox. I don't think I opposed the proposition last time because of the size as well. And when I saw it come back without any changes, I have to say I was disappointed. So I was hoping they might come back with a little more allegiance to the bylaw as well.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Burke?
Yeah, so based on the way that this is written with the required proposed and differences, I'm not very supportive of this, even though I do appreciate the fact that they are building single detached homes, which I do think some folks are looking for. But based on the differences, I can't support this application as it sits in front of us today.
Councilor Hearn, did I see your hand up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. I have a problem with this microphone, but with the headphones on, I can hear you better. So that's pretty important right now. Yeah, I agree. I was extremely frustrated when I read this. It just didn't seem to go in the direction that I was hoping for as a counselor. So I'm not tremendously supportive of this.
Anybody else? Okay, so The bylaw comes later at this point. So far, we're just receiving the reports, correct? And the clerk and the mayor being authorized to sign the bylaw. But mover and seconder, with no further discussion, all in favor? Oh, the receiving the report and authorizing. Okay. Carried, thank you. So we'll move on to 4A. It's the live barn discussion. So a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received report C and EP 2025-31. They report on the live barn update. And the council authorizes the mayor and clerk to sign the bylaw to authorize a 3-year agreement with Live Barn 8. And further, the council directs staff to work with local minor sports organizations to establish agreements to promote the streaming service. There's a mover and a second for that. Councilor Rankin, Councilor McKay, thank you. Questions, comments? Councilor Burke, go ahead.
Yes, so thank you for bringing the report back, staff, through you, Mayor Lennox. I'm just still really unclear how it will affect the streaming will affect teams that have members that won't resign the release for various reasons. It may not be the whole team, but it could be a potential member. So I'm concerned about how that aspect of this is going to impact that individual and that team. And I'm not sure who wants to answer that question, but I do have some follow-up with regards to that.
Okay, let's tackle that first, and then Danny's volunteering.
Sure. Thank you, through you, Mayor Lennox. So in regards to the privacy concerns that you've mentioned, we did speak with the minor hockey associations, and through their registration process, there was a sign off saying that there would be video recordings, and that was something that they had to sign off on through their registration process. So children that have registered for minor hockey, 2 of the 3 minor hockey associations have confirmed that they did require that. For the 3rd minor hockey association that I have not received confirmation for yet, we would put that back to their responsibility and working with the coaches on confirming that those blackout times are accessed.
Okay, thank you. I just really find it very I'm very uneasy with this platform with regards to privacy issues, not only for the minors that are playing the sports, but the coaches. And in the report, it says that Live Barn retains the sole custody of all video recordings. So who's liable if any of this information is breached? Is it the municipality or is it the township?
Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, Mayor Lennox, again through you. So the township does not retain any of the video recordings. So if an FOI request was submitted, we wouldn't have possession of those recordings to be able to turn over. That would be something they would have to go through Live Barn for to request those recordings. They are kept for 30 days, but they're not in our possession at any point.
Okay, so then with regards to the security breach, if it's a blackout time and inevitably, you know, there is room for error, who is liable for that breach? If something is taped that shouldn't have been, it should have been a blackout time. Where does the liability fall on that if there are significant consequences?
Yeah,
again, thank you, through you, Mayor Lennox. So we will be having postage on the facility when everybody walks into the facility. So there will be notice for transparency reasons, as well as for notification reasons, that people are entering into a facility that does have live streaming capabilities. Those blackout periods will be checked weekly by our team. And if it is during a minor hockey game, then that's where the agreement will come into place with minor hockey, saying that they are responsible for those periods that are their live streaming periods. So as it relates to an accidental or a human error where the camera turns on when it should have been blacked out, I can't speak to the liability of that because it is held externally for those 30 days. However, we have worked with LiveBarn. Both Karen and I sat down with the chief operating officer and spoke about how they addressed the Waterloo incident. And they were able to get in, turn off the cameras right away. They confirmed that nobody had viewed the footage or downloaded the footage. So they would be able to provide us with that information as well, if something like that were to happen.
Thank you.
Did you have any further, Councilor?
No.
Okay. Any other questions, Councilor Rankin?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Lennox. I think I'd just like some clarification on that point as well. So if the parents of the youth are refusing to sign the release form for their child's video, and does that mean that the blackout period is going to be for that game with that youth in it? Then are you not going to have concerns from other parents that may want to see? They paid for the option of being able to view their child for the game, and it's being blacked out. So I'm just wondering if that's going to be a concern.
So thank you, through you, Mayor Lennox. Yeah, so as it relates to the registration process, so the two of the organizations absolutely have gained consent through the registration process. The third, I just haven't confirmed it with them yet. However, if they did not obtain consent during the registration process, that's where the PIN system could also come into play. So as you rightfully explained, if I'm a parent on that hockey team and I've paid to have LiveBarn subscription, that team could have a privacy pin put on that game in order to respect the privacy of the child.
Questions, comments? Councilor Hearn?
Yes, I certainly understand the benefits of it, but like Councillor Burke, I am really uncomfortable with the privacy aspect of it, and you know, even with the safeguards in place, what I'm worried about is how a vulnerable child feels. And that's like the biggest concern for me, is that they're possibly already in a precarious situation that neither of us can fathom. And I am very uncomfortable with giving them one more layer of, I don't know, uncomfortableness, for lack of a better word here. And that's who I'm really concerned about, is this child that that I don't know.
Any other questions, comments? I just would like to follow up a little bit more. So I'm just having trouble visualizing the sequence of events here. So each team at registration entity declares whether or not their members will accommodate this or not, correct?
No, not quite. So during registration, an individual player has to accept the notice of being recorded. So each parent signs off on that consent during the registration process for their child. If they don't sign off on the consent on two of the three associations we spoke with, then they would not be able to continue on with their registration.
Right. So what if in the registration process a parent identifies as not being willing to sign? How is that dealt with?
So my understanding is that they would not be able to register for hockey. I didn't get into the details of their registration process, other than they said they obtained consent from every player that is playing minor hockey with their association.
Okay, so then once the association is registered, that all players in that association are
Correct.
assigned.
Yeah.
So we're not in a situation where one player on one team is requiring us to black it out.
For 2 of the 3 associations we spoke with, correct. I have not obtained that information from the 3rd, so I don't want to speak incorrectly.
Yeah, I was very concerned that the potential was we would have one player on one team, as an example, that needed the privacy protection, and then through no fault of anyone, weather circumstances during the winter period or something where 2 teams had to swap positions in the schedule or something, then how would we make sure that crowd's needs were blocked out? But what you're telling me is the whole association is saying yes.
Yes.
So if minor hockey in Mount Forest, all their players say yes, then we don't need to worry about shutting off for any of their games or practices.
Correct.
Okay, so that helps me a little bit. All right, and then we have a 3rd association that hasn't gone through this process. Would we black out all of their games and practices until such time as they provided that?
Correct. So if council were to approve this live barn agreement, then what staff are suggesting is that we would enter into agreements with the associations. And until we have an agreement with the association, their times would be blacked out. So if we use Mount Forest Minor Hockey as the example, they've obtained consent from all of their players. We would enter into an agreement with them about scheduling the live streaming activities. Until we have an agreement in place, it would be a blacked out, no streaming available.
Okay. And so there's no once the schedule is established, there's very little opportunity then for photographing someone who doesn't wish to be photographed on the ice surface.
Correct. Through our ice allocation process, they've got firmed in time slots for games and practices and that sort of thing. So we would work with the minor associations on their scheduling. And again, our team, recreation team, once a week would go in to ensure that all of the blackout times are set up properly, and then work with the minor sports organizations with theirs as well. If we entered into the agreement with the minor sports associations, it would put the responsibility onto those associations for monitoring their times of live streaming.
Yeah, I guess I just visualized this differently. And so I thank you for the clarification, because I was concerned that maybe we're going to ask trainers or coaches to click a button on or off for each practice or game. And that just seems to me to be incredibly risky. So this seems much more robust process. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Through you, Mayor Lennox, thank you I think you clarified the question that I was trying to get around. So by a parent not signing consent for the release of having their child in this video, they are not able to partake on the team. So we have some children, through no fault of their own, are not going to be able to play hockey when they would like to. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if I may, through Mayor Lennox. So the consent form is not just for our facility, it's for all facilities. So when the children are playing their sports, they're entering facilities all over southwestern Ontario, many of which have live streaming services in their facilities. So that consent is for them to be able to play in many different facilities with this live streaming capability.
So we're not placing the only limitation on this thing on players.
I'm sorry, it cut out on me.
What you're saying is that we're not placing an exclusive limitation on the players. They're limited by what's in other facilities as well where they may travel to.
Correct.
Okay.
So sorry, through you, Mayor Lennox, Maggie, so I'm not clear on it. So if a child or a parent going through the registration, it says they don't want to be videotaped, then that child can't play on that team. Like that will stop them from playing on the team that they're trying to sign up for.
My understanding, correct through you, Mayor Lennox, is that when through the registration process, you have to consent to being live streamed or video recorded through that entire registration process. So I'm not sure what each association, how they approach that, other than they have that consent right built into their registration processes.
So then if a child doesn't want, or a parent doesn't want their child videotaped, then that's it for the child, they're not playing on that team, is that right?
That would be my understanding, because the reality is a child could, if going to Mapleton, they enter into that facility, they will be live streamed. If they're going to Minto, again, they would be live streamed. So a lot of the neighboring municipalities that our youth groups or youth organizations will enter will be live streamed. In addition, there's also opportunities for parents in the stands to be video recording and sending it to YouTube, sending it to Facebook, that sort of thing. So as a liability, with a liability lens, the associations are getting that consent at the onset of the season, notifying parents that, hey, your child could be video recorded, whether it's through a live barn or another streaming service or just on a parent's phone.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. All right, so we're proposing to enter a 3-year agreement and directing staff to work with minor sports organizations to establish agreements and promote the service. Call the question, then all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We move on to the budget statement. The recommendation here that Council of Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received report TR 2025-007, being a report on the proposed 2026 budget schedule. And further, the council endorsed the schedule proposed by staff as follows: September 5th, budget template circulated to senior management team, September 19th or earlier, budget inputs provided to finance team for consolidation, October 8th or earlier, budget discussion between senior management team members and director of finance. October 22nd, consolidated budget draft prepared for senior management review. November 3rd, staff presents proposed budget to council. December 1st, staff council presents revised budget to public for comment. December 15th, staff council presents revised budget based on public consultation, if required, and 2026 budget bylaw passed. A mover and a second. Councilor Burke and Councilor Hernan, thank you. Questions or comments? Justin King.
Steve, thank you. Through you, Mayor Lennox. On the budget versus bid side, where there's a difference of 1.8 million, I don't want to say left over, but difference in what I would say, we still have at the bank. Where does that get transferred to, or where does that 1.8 million go that we didn't have to spend?
I think that's what I should
Really should be part of 5Cs.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, and then now it's 5A. I didn't apologize.
That's okay. If it's okay with everybody, we'll just deal with your questions now and then.
Yep, sorry.
Carry on.
Sorry, I had written down as 5A, so that's
fine. What was being shown is a budget versus the bid amounts received from the third-party contractors. That's what comes up with like $1 million. As part of the budgets, we also have additional projects that staff can complete for each of those critical items. For example, the asphalt program, the public works department have been doing a lot of gravel on the side where necessary shoulders, they can do some of the asphalt work as well, and milling. So that would come up to that maybe 300,000 materials, which would bring down that number costing number in the same there. Some bids across various projects as well. We have technology costs, engineering costs, design costs, which is part of the budget, but obviously not part of the scope of the tender. So when all is said and done, we still expect to have a variance. That variance would go into the reserve at year end and then make its way back into the 2026 budget program. All right, thank you.
Other questions? Take another look at your for the budget schedule. Okay, all those in favor then? That's carried, thank you. Move on to heritage update 6B. We have a recommendation here, the council incorporates suspension.
Did you not want to post 6A to George Griffin Street Court?
Yeah, they did have a 6A, what number are we on now?
B.
6B. Okay, wasn't on my list. We can deal with it.
Sorry.
Okay, let's do 6A then. We have a recommendation of the council of the corporation of the Township of Wellington North, received report CLK 2025-13, being report on the George Griffin Street update. And further, the council directs staff to pay Robinson Fire Drainage $1,953.36 regarding interest on the deposit made by them when they RFT 2024-008 tender for the drainage work. They will move her to seconder, please. Councilor Dave. And Councilor Hearn, thank you. Councilor Dave.
Right, thank you, and thanks, Karen. So the MGO is going to pay us back $1,953.36 because they.
The other way. We'll pay that.
But because there was a delay on their part.
It's interest on their money.
Thomas is on the call, our strangers.
Okay.
Thomas, are you able to help navigate this one?
Yep, so the question was who's paying the interest at the end of it? It'll be assessed, through you, Mayor, it'll be assessed back to MTO as it's their road and their cause of the delay, so the full interest will be assessed to MTO as a special assessment, so it won't increase the overall construction costs of the drain.
So we'll get it there, so that's good. And then, sorry. When do you think this will be re-tendered? Not.
I am currently working on the tender package, so I'm hoping to have that by the end of next week at the latest, I hope. All ready to be sent out to the bidders.
Okay, and hopefully start that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions with regard to this one? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. We want to be this heritage update. The recommendation of the council of the corporation of the Township of Wellington North received for information report CLK 2025-12. A report on heritage. Are you going to move her to seconder? That's all right. That's okay, thank you. Questions, comments? Oh, that's all right.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Lennox. I just had several. One of them was to question discussions, and I wouldn't feel comfortable, I don't think right now, trying to answer those without going back to a cultural roundtable and having a conversation with them regarding these questions, and then having full answers for them, and then forth back to council. And I just want to say that the designations of whether the buildings are heritage or non-heritage, there's not very many that are true heritage. So I'm just wondering what the possibility of those that are listed as not the non-heritage, the ones in between, modified, if they can still apply for any of the designations that we may apply to keep the facades.
So I'm just maybe a little slow today. So we're going to see what are you proposing? Do we defer this to go back to the cultural roundtable for more feedback?
I'd like to hear everybody else's opinion first and then take it back to the cultural roundtable.
Okay, sure. Other questions, comments, Councilman Key?
Thank you, and I did have a question before, but you kind of jogged my memory, Councilman Rankin. So this giving us on the date of 1985, for the kind of the cutoff year or whatever you want to call it. And then just another question is, what, I guess time-wise and monetary-wise, what is this costing staff to do this? I don't expect it to do this whole area through feasibility and just time-wise, just to get the comments.
Sure, you don't have defined numbers. But
No,
I
think the summary of past reports and discussion that's been had, we haven't kept track of say staff hours or hours with the cultural roundtable. But this issue has been on our agenda and staff have been working to compile that information. So today I don't have an overall cost of the time and money that's been spent. That said, there was dollars spent towards revising the guidelines, and certainly what is proposed in this report is if council does direct staff to look at the more prescriptive designation route, that we would actually put together a capital budget sheet that would outline what we would anticipate the costs in the future to be. Just because we do think that there would be obviously staff time, potentially other staff resources needed or consultant resources needed to do all the work required, in addition to legal costs to defend any processes that we want to put in place. So we would, if council is at this point in time interested in reviewing that, that's our next step that we can take. However, if council decides to look at the more what we call sort of the enhanced business as usual, which is looking at enhancing our CIP, looking at enhancing educational opportunities, working with the design guidelines that we already have in place now that they've been updated. We can do that. That's would be part of our work plan for next year. So there wouldn't be additional costs necessary. It would just be that directed effort.
Also, right.
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Lennox, I'd just like to say thank you very much for the report. It's very explicit and very fully detailed, a lot in there. And I was just sorry to see that if I was anticipating a bylaw originally, the cost that is going to ensue. So I'd like to try and come up with a plan somewhere in the middle where it has some safeguards for the facades, but I'm not sure I want to spend the entire money that it would take for a bylaw to go in.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Burke?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor Lennox. So I too agree with what Councilor Rankin has said here, because the recommendation says that we're just receiving this report. So I too believe that if we are not going to somehow protect our heritage, then who will? I guess is the question. And I know that staff is looking for some kind of staff direction, I would suggest, from this report. But I also think it's important for the Cultural Roundtable to have a look at what's been presented here, only because we heavily rely on that group for these kinds of initiatives. And I think it's important to have their feedback on it as well. I do like, I'm not gonna hold back. I do sort of like the moratorium on it, but I don't like the ramifications on it either. So I think somewhere in the middle would be a good landing spot. And if I could put that out as a recommendation to Councillor Rankin when she, when and if she's able to have these conversations with the cultural roundtable, because there are a lot of financial implications, and I'm not exactly sure that we're at that point as much as I'd like to see it. We all know that there are a lot of budget restraints, and when we look at the schedule for the budget, so we know it's coming up. So I think it's an important conversation to have.
There are questions, comments? Councillor Hearn?
I agree. It was a great report. I do struggle with the a more regulatory approach. I am much more supportive of an enhanced CIP. There's many examples of leveraging that is done within communities through CIPs and cost share funding, etc. Kind of, I maybe read down kind of the rabbit hole with it, but it kind of begs the question how far we go with this. Like when I thought about it, I'm like, well, there's businesses, historical ones that are outside our downtown core, right? And what I specifically thought about was our agricultural heritage, and I don't want any regulation on that. Please don't mistake that. But bank barns are disappearing at an alarming rate, and they're very cost prohibitive. They're an absolute money pit. And I really struggle with seeing them disappear. There are communities like Waterloo and London that do allow cost share funding as part of these heritage type programs to at least defray a tiny little bit of the cost with that. And I mean, I don't think that that's a question. That's just a comment that I just thought of. But I do struggle with kind of a regulatory approach, although I completely support protecting historical buildings.
Any other questions, comments? I guess I would add my comments too. I think, I think that the council sometimes we overlook the fact that we have more than one tool in our toolbox to get the outcomes in our community that we want. And I think the very fact of us having this discussion is one of those tools in the toolbox. In that we can communicate clearly what we believe are important things for our community. Doesn't mean that we have to necessarily create a law to communicate that. We could communicate that we believe heritage in our downtown is important, and do things like enhance the CIP to incentivize people to make sure that when they're doing some upgrades to the facades, we make it financially appealing to them to make sure they look after the heritage piece. And I think the other thing that we could probably do, and even if we wanted to in a future date go down the more heritage designation route, maybe we should start a consultation with some of our downtown business owners and say, this is what we're concerned about. Communicate our concern about preserving the heritage, and have a discussion with them. Well, what are the barriers to that? I mean, I think it's great to discuss with the cultural roundtable. I think there's good information that could be there. I think maybe we need to take this to the people that own the buildings and let them know that this is on our radar. This is what we're thinking about, and this is how we can work together to preserve that. That's the case.
I like this. Sorry for you, Mayor Lennox. I like that idea. I wonder if the cultural roundtable and the BIA can get together. Maybe have a meeting with Councilor Reid.
Sure, anything possible.
Let's hope.
Might be a little hard to coordinate on that. But yeah, EIA is the business owners that are the building owner, property owners. So yeah, that's a great avenue of way to communicate some of this to them as well. Yeah. Darren?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Lennox. And so I've heard lots of comments about kind of going halfway, or It's tough with provincial like regulation, and I think that's why staff have struggled so much with these reports that we put together for council's consideration. There really is only stick or carrot. There really isn't halfway when it comes to regulation. Either it's the full process or it's kind of not as far as provincial regulation. And then really it's how big of a stick or how big of a carrot once we make that decision whether we want to go regulation or ask the building owners or work with them through a CIP. So I just wanted to kind of make that clear point about that.
So it's not only the tool, but how big the tool needs to be.
That's right.
Brooke, do you have something further?
I just wanted to make the comment that I believe one of the next steps staff was going to take was to be consulting with the BIA circulating this report. See Nancy shaking good. That was my understanding because we do recognize that obviously any of these approaches has some impacts on the property owners, and we haven't had that discussion with the BIA yet. My understanding is also that the minutes that were provided as part of this report with the cultural roundtable have been some of those discussion items. Now, maybe there's an opportunity for additional discussion, but even in advance of this report, we did go back to the cultural roundtable just to reiterate some of the steps the township has taken, just to make sure there was clarity in terms of the design guidelines and the other tools available. I'll pass it over to Mandy just to step in if I misspoke, but that is my understanding as well.
Correct. Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lennox. That's absolutely correct, Brooke. So we did present these to the Cultural Roundtable at our August committee meeting, and they were well received. There was even some comments about, how can we help promote this CIP program and promote the facade design guidelines through to our community and to our business owners. So I think there's some excitement growing around the heritage component that the CIP offers through the facade dollars available currently. And I think that there would be, if council decided to reopen the CIP and add potentially more dollars towards that there would be even more excitement around that top up for heritage facade component as well. So the communication, the education piece, we've been doing a good job getting it out there, but there's always room for more opportunities to get it out in front of our businesses. And that's where we're seeing some of that education coming forward.
So Brooke, I'm going to ask you in terms of we approve this report, what will be the next steps staff would be planning to take regarding this?
For you, Mayor Lennox, so staff are already committed to continuing that conversation in terms of that education and promotion stream. So that's already part of our work plan, and this has just helped shape that a little bit and provide some additional ideas in terms of next steps. So we are going to be chatting with the BIAs. We're going to be looking at communication to landowners in terms of the programs available, the design guidelines, things like that. And we're hoping to kind of work in partnership with the Culture Roundtable to shape that messaging. So that's already underway. If council receives this report today, and we will continue to do that. Now, if council would like to see anything in addition to that, we would need to receive that direction. In terms of putting together a plan or and a capital budget sheet that looks at that more prescriptive approach and anything beyond that. So right now it's sort of option one, which we're already doing, and we'll continue to augment based on the feedback we've received. If anything is desired by council at this point, we need that direction.
I personally would like to hear some of the feedback from the property owners and so on as well. But I would be very open to reopening the CIP and offering some additional assistance of things. Something that we think would give us better results. I would be happy to wait until we get some feedback from some of those property owners and other stakeholders too. I'm happy to take any comments from council in terms of.
Yeah, I'm on board with that as well, and the CIP needs to be revoked, then we'll vote on that as well.
Anything that's going to work is fine with me.
Yeah. Councilor Hurd, any further comments?
No, I'm happy to help facilitate with staff the communications to go to the BIA. We have a meeting tomorrow, which may be a little bit too soon. But in the October meeting, if we wanted to have those discussions, I could just sort of let them know that this is up and coming and we'd like to have a discussion with them on that.
Any further discussion, Aaron?
No, I agree with that approach. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll call the question then. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 7A now. This is correspondence from David Arbuckle from AMC Gill. And we have a recommendation here. The Council on Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received correspondence from David Arbuckle, MTA, Executive Director of the MCTO, dated August 14, 2025, regarding attachment draft post, graduate of the MCTO's diploma in municipal administration requirements. The mover seconded, Councilor Key, Councilor Rankin, thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilor Key?
Yeah, I wanted to bring this forward because I think it's a huge achievement and I wanted to congratulate the township as well. So congratulations.
Councilor Rankin?
I had asked to have it pulled as well, just for the very same reason, and I didn't know you were taking it, but if I did, I knew you could have done it, so.
Any other questions or comments?
If I could just add, I took those courses a long time ago, and if you're not involved in that, you don't know the work that goes into it, but it's been a really long process, every 2 weeks, essay questions, exams, so it's a really big accomplishment, so.
Any other questions, comments? So if there's a reason to have your name in the agenda attached, this is a good one. So congratulations. Call the question, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, that brings us to notice of motion. Do we have any notice of motion? Okay, we'll move on to the community group meeting program report. Does anybody have anything they'd like to report on today? That's okay.
Thank you, and through you. I wasn't able to go to the ABLE conference, but Roma had a meeting there and just wanted to update everyone on what the Roma board did. So they met with Honorable Lisa Thompson, the Minister of Rural Affairs, who is committed to meeting with our board regularly, and hopefully we can get a better understanding. Her ministry can get a better understanding of the rural challenges and our Roma priorities. And then we also met with Honorable Rob Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the board raised the issues of rural homelessness, infrastructure funding to support growth and aging assets, and working on a new provincial and municipal fiscal framework that addresses the shortage of rural physicians and other healthcare professionals as well. And with that, the plans for Roma 2026 conference are in full swing, and it will be held in Toronto again at the Sheraton Hotel on January 18th to the 20th. That's it for the Roma. I'd like to mention about the success of the Art and Hall Fair. Working with your wife and yourself, Mayor Lennox, we talked to Joanna, and she thought that there was over 2,000 people that had went through the fair all weekend, which was pretty phenomenal, I think. So, big shout out to all the volunteers of the Egg Society and the people that helped organize the Art and Hall Fair.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to report from Councilor?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lennox. On September 27th, the Artisan Showcase will be at the Sports Complex, and it will show the diversity of all the talent that we have in our area. And so everybody is welcome to come in. Some of the vendors can have items for sale as well. And the farmers market will be in the parking lot at the sports complex at the same time. And the time for the showcase is from 10 until 3. And the market will be extra long that week, that Saturday being the last one, and because of the times to showcase, they're going to be the same.
Yeah.
I've got a question I want to ask.
Okay, Councilor, go ahead.
Yeah, so just on the Mount Forest Aquatics, we've been working on a newsletter that I had solicited some family members, as well as Mike had a couple of young lads that were looking for volunteer hours. So this newsletter that's been compiled is about the pool, sort of where we're at in terms of fundraising, a save the date for our flocking holiday home tour, and just some really important information. I understand they went to Canada Post today, and just wanted to thank the individuals that helped staple the envelopes to 5,000 newsletters last week.
Thanks. Any other updates? Do you have a question, Councilman Gates?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm thinking we might have a new business, I think, well, one of new business, but I'd like to have a chat about one of the alleys in Mount Port. Just a little bit further said about the coffee culture, and so hoping to maybe chat with you or Mandy at some point just to see what we can do with that hallway. The BIA and a number of people got in touch with me to want to kind of clean it up, and I figured out a hold of one of our staff members as well, in regards to hopefully maybe we're letting our staff in the alleyway after it's all beautified and everything, so maybe we can have a chat offline about that.
Good.
In the near future. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I would add to Councilman Kate's update with regard to the Eric Paul Fair. We had 3 fair ambassadors conducted this year, and all 3 would have been and will continue to be, I'm sure, fantastic ambassadors for our community. The successful candidate was Kayla Humphreys, so I'll congratulate her on her appointment as the new fair ambassador. I'm sure we've got an opportunity to congratulate her again in the coming days. But yeah, the Fall Fair is certainly a big community event and engages many participants in the community, and it's really a celebration of community, and I think I'm not sure what the right word is, but it's really quite heartwarming to see our community pull together to make things like that happen, or things like the fireworks festival. These large events in the community take so much effort and draw so many people into it. It's what helps us, our communities, feel like home. And I think what that would be much harder to call this. With that, we'll move on to bylaws. We have 3 bylaws on the schedule today. Does anybody wish to deal with any of them separately? We have a recommendation that bylaw number 46-2025, 56-2025, and 57-2025 be read and passed. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? No, go ahead. What's the ranking?
I'm just thinking, sorry,
So
the
first bylaw deals with live barn, the second one deals with the bylaw amendment, or zoning bylaw amendment for 341 Smith Street.
Right.
And the third one deals with the development agreement for part lot G, survey part 2, 61R 22213.
This is the third bylaw was the one that was just circulated today.
yeah. The B is the one that we had a discussion on earlier.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to do this.
Do this separately, okay? So then I'll read the recommendation again. That bylaw number 56, sorry. Recommendation is that bylaw number 46-2025 and 57-2025 be read and passed. Can I get a mover and seconder for that, please? Councilman Kennedy. So Rankin, thank you. So this is the bylaw with regard to the library, and then also will become with regard to the development. Yeah. All those in favor?
So which one do we do? Sorry, not to
Okay.
totally. Which one did we do first?
So we're doing the two other ones first. So A and C. So the
A and C.
live barn and the development agreement in Mount Summers. Or we want to do all three. Why don't we just do all three separate?
Do them all separate.
Yeah.
Can we do them all separate?
We will do them all separately. We'll start with A then, bylaw number 46-2025. So the recommendation that bylaw 46-2025 be read and passed. So this is in regard to the live barn agreement. They're going to move her to secondary for that. Councilor Cave, Councilor Rankin, I think we had before. So all those in favor? Opposed? That's defeated. Okay, we'll move on to this is the item B. This is the zoning bylaw amendment in the Article 341 Smith Street, Hartford. So recommendation of bylaw number 56-2025 be read and passed. Moved by Councilor Rankin, seconded by Councilor Cave. All those in any discussion on that one? All those in favor? Opposed? That's defeated. Okay, so we're on to the third one. This is item C. Recommendation that bylaw number 57-2025 be read and passed. This is in regard to the development agreement on Park Lot T, McDonald's Survey Park 2, 61R 22213. Okay, so moved by Councilor Cave, seconded by Councilor Rankin. All those in favor? Carried. And so we're on to our cultural moment.
The Wellington North Cultural Roundtable presents A Cultural Moment, Dr. Norman Trumner and his dentist chair. Norman Trumner was born in 1895. In 1918, he graduated from the Royal College of Dental Surgeons at the University of Toronto. Dr. Trumner would serve as a lieutenant in the Canadian Army Dental Corps in the First World War and eventually settle in the village of Arthur. Norman married Laura Connors, with whom he had 3 sons, Ross, Morley, and Paul. In 1919, Norman purchased Dr. W. Elgie's dental practice in Arthur. His office was on the main street on the 3rd floor above Rebel's clothing store, where the John F. Smith Insurance Office was located. He was the dentist to many generations of Arthurites during his 50 years of practice. Dr. Trumner retired in 1967. This dentist chair from Dr. Trumner's office has stories to tell. After leaving his office, it made its way to Dr. Stanley Weingard and his wife, Dr. Nadine McEwen, the second eldest of 6 daughters of Grant and Ethel McEwen. The chair then traveled to Timmins, where it was on display for 14 years. Upon their retirement, Drs. Weingard and McEwen kindly donated the chair and a mahogany x-ray cabinet circa 1904 to the Arthur and Area Historical Society. How to relocate the chair back to Arthur? Historical Society member Wayne Orr, with his pickup truck and livestock trailer, and Jack Benham drove to Timmins, loaded the chair and cabinet, and drove them to Arthur. In April 2025, these items were moved once more in a Township of Wellington North truck bound for the Arthur and Area Community Center, placed on the elevator, and up to another new home in the upper hall. The members of the Arthur and Area Historical Society welcome you to visit this SS White dental chair. It may trigger a memory if you sit in it. Permanently closed for dental extractions, but open to your stories.
That is closed for extractions. Probably a bunch of them were done without. Okay, we'll move on to our confirming bylaw. We have a recommendation. The bylaw number 58-2025 being a bylaw of current proceedings of the Council of Corporation of the Township of Wellington North. As regular meeting held on September 8th, 2025, be read and passed. Then we'll move to seconder for that, Councilor Bird. Councilor Hearn, thank you. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. And before we move to adjournment, we'll just draw your attention to the meeting notices. For farmers markets, running till the end of the month on Saturday mornings. Of course, BIA meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Director Chamber meeting Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. First Chamber of Commerce meeting Tuesday next week, 16th at 5 to 6 p.m. Safe Communities, next meeting is Wednesday, September 18th, 9:30 to 11:30. Director BIA virtual meeting, next one is September 17th, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. And the volunteer celebration and newcomer welcome event is at the Mount Forest District Sports Complex on Thursday, September 18th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And our next regular council meeting is September 27th at 7 p.m. So with that, the recommendation of the regular council meeting on September 8th, 2025, be adjourned at 4:06 p.m. Moved by Councilor Kate, seconded by Councilor Rankin. Thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. You have a great day, everyone. Bye.